just quickly want to touch on the consequences of the misclassification, because if they get those agreements that we're going to delve into now, if they get them wrong, there are serious consequences for businesses. And as a small business owner, it can really cripple your business. So for example, if you are not paying over the requisite UIF or PAYE, you have a person in your business who is earning below the threshold, you have classified them as an independent contractor, but you are supervising them, exercising control, all of those factors that we considered. If SARS comes to you all of a sudden, if that person has been in your employment for 5 years, you're going to have to pay back 5 years of PAYE and UIF and penalties for not having paid it as well. So you can imagine the financial impact on a small business if that were ever to happen. Again, Coida penalties. If you have someone who is classified as an independent contractor, the Department of Labor comes to do an inspection and finds, but hang on, that person is actually your employee. Remember, you pay for your Coida registration per person in your organization. Then you would have to pay the penalties for not having paid for a number of years. By the same token, if a particular person is injured while they are doing work, during the course and scope of the engagement with your business, and they are injured and all of a sudden they run to claim workman's compensation, that's going to have occupational health and safety consequences for the business. If it actually is in fact that they are employees and not independent contractors. So tax and compliance, massive consequences potentially that are financial, and that can cripple a business. And then you have labor law consequences. So again, you tell someone to just leave because they are independent contractors, but actually they are your employees. You find yourself at the CCMA on an unfair dismissal case. If it is in fact unfair, you could be liable for up to 12 months of compensation payable to that employee. So I mean, 12 months compensation, even if you take it on the minimum of 21,000 per month, is a lot of money for a small business, particularly. You could also face penalties under the basic conditions for non-compliance with working time, leave. Remember, if all of a sudden that person, let's take worst case example, right? This person, you have called them an independent contractor, but they earn below the threshold. You exercise control, you tell them where to work, how to work, you give them laptops, cell phones, all of that. And now all of a sudden you dismiss them. You find yourself at the CCMA on an unfair dismissal case. The CCMA now delves into the relationship practically on a day-to-day basis and finds, hang on, this person is your employee, not an independent contractor. So it's not just the unfairness of the dismissal now, which, like I said, potentially you have up to 12 months of compensation to pay, but you haven't given this person leave for 5 years. You now must pay for the leave. They are entitled to 15 working days per leave cycle. So now there's that calculation to take into consideration. So it can be really, really expensive for business.